Alright, so I'm going to go over the first two of these a little slower, and then I'll go through the rest of them a little more quicker just because they're pretty much all done the same. Now, I'm going to start this off by saying there's several ways you can go about solving this. In fact, if you go to high school, then they might use this way, they might show you a new way, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to build on the information you already know, the process you already know. So this is what you're going to have to do, is we're giving these two coordinate points that fall on a given line, and what we have to do is create an equation that would go through these 2 points, okay? So first thing I need to know, and of course we're using y equals mx plus b. That's our equation for a linear function. And we need to find out what does m equal, and we need to know what our y-intercept is. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find out what my slope is, or my rate of change. So I'm going to create a little table based on the info that they give us. So we have x is 1, y is 5, and then we have x is 2, y is 7. Alright, so there's my table. And now I'm going to see what my rate of change is. When y changes 2 units, so from 5 to 7, that's a change of positive 2, y changes 1 unit. So that means that my slope is 2 over 1, change in y over change in x. And of course that'll just simplify it to just be 2, because 2 divided by 1 is 2. So I've got my slope is a positive 2. Now what I'm going to do in order to find my y-intercept is I'm going to do almost exactly like what I did in part 1 of this practice assignment. And you can see I've got videos on all 12 problems, but I know that my slope is 2. I get to pick either one of these points. It doesn't matter. You're going to get the same answer no matter what. So I'm just going to go with this first coordinate pair. So we've got 1 and 5. And I am going to find out what my y-intercept is. So y equals, I'm going to start off with y equals mx plus b, so you can follow with what I'm doing. Mx plus b. And I'm going to take 2 and I'm going to sub that in for m. So now my equation looks like this. Y equals 2x plus b. And then I'm going to take my x value and sub it in for x. So now I have y equals 2 times 1 plus b. And then I'm going to take my y value and sub it in for y. So now I've got 5 equals 2 times 1 plus b. So now I would just solve this equation. 2 times 1 is 2. I'm going to write down the rest of my equation. And so I need to get rid of that 2, so I do the opposite, which is subtracting 2 on both sides. And I'm left with 5 minus 2 is a positive 3. So b equals 3. So b equals a positive 3. So now that I know what my m is and I know what my b is, I can put it together to make my equation. Y equals 2, because there's my 2, x plus 3, because that is my y-intercept. So that's the equation for number 1. Number 2, I'm going to do almost the exact same thing. Remember, we've got y equals mx plus b, and I need to know what does m equal, and I need to know what my y-intercept is. So I'm going to create a table based on the coordinates. So we have 0 and 1, and I have 3 and negative 8. There we go. And so my y value changes a negative 9. And if you're like, oh, that doesn't make sense to me, think about this. You have to think back to 7th grade. If I start off at positive 1, and I need to travel backwards all the way to get to negative 8, you are decreasing 9 units, okay? Because you go from 1 to 0 is down 1 unit, and then you got to go from 0 to negative 8, that's down 8 units, so that's a total of moving down 9 units. So The difference between 0 and 3 is just 3. So my slope, my rate of change, is negative 9 over 3, but this can be simplified. A negative divided by a positive is going to be a negative, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So my slope in this case is negative 3. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, my slope is negative 3. I'm going to pick any point. It doesn't matter which one. I usually pick the one that has like the easy number or the smaller numbers. So we have 0 and 1. Just know you'll get the same answer no matter which one you pick. And now I'm going to use substitution. Y equals mx plus b. I'm going to put negative 3 in for m. So now y equals negative 3x plus b. I'm going to put 0 in for my x value. So we have y equals negative 3 times 0 plus b. And then I'm going to put 1 in for my y value. So we have 1 equals negative 3 times 0 plus b. And I'm going to solve for b. So we've got anything times 0 is 0. And bring down the rest of my problem. So that means 0 plus b equals 1. So that can be simplified to just say b equals 1 because I'm adding nothing to b. So b equals 1, a positive 1. So whenever I put all this stuff together, my equation looks like y equals m, which is negative 3, x plus 1, because that's my y-intercept.